Fellow gamers, to be honest, January is not looking like the best month for us shooter fans. At the very best, it's going to be pretty mediocre, so get ready for some very honest opinions on the games dropping in January. Let's do this. First up, my friends, we got Guts and Grunts, one that actually looks pretty good. It's a 2D side-scrolling game that takes a lot of inspiration from similar games back in the 80s and 90s, like Contra and Turrican. Now, from what I can gather, the game seems to have some simple but very nice pixel art to it, with some fluid animations, movement and weapons. Now, the problem is though that games like Contra has never really been my jam. I do like my side-scrolling action, but this specific old-school type of scroller never tingled my nerves in the right way. And what I mean with that is side-scrolling combined with slow and very basic movement, where nothing really seems to stick out to make it more interesting. It just doesn't do it for me. Luckily though, the game will offer upgrades and abilities, so that's always something, but how far the game will take it in those aspects, well, we can find out on the 5th of January.
Foolish swine, you will not be king for long.
Ooh la la, another one that actually looks pretty good. Alright, January ain't starting off too bad, but will it manage to keep this up? Well, stick around to find out. So Kick Bastards, however, is a speedrunning game, much like Stop Dead or Warstrike challenges, but instead of firearms, in this game you have your feet. You will be kicking your way to the fastest time possible in levels set in hell itself. Oh, and also the devil is chasing you, just to give you that extra motivation to be fast and very parkourish. Now, in later days, I've come to really appreciate these speedrunning games. They are often fun and challenging in a fair way, both testing your skills and learning new ones that you never thought that you could learn, and this one looks to be no different in that regard. However, I'm not sure I really dig the low poly and one-color textures, but it gets a pass because the lava, it does look pretty sweet. Now, the parkour elements that I quickly mentioned is the game's highlight, so be ready to kick and grapple everything you see on January 5th. Oh boy, what do we have here? Prion Infection is another speedrunning game. I think, at least according to the Steam page, it's an endless running game where you have to try to survive and catch your high score, whatever catching your high score means. So pretty much you run through an endless level, shooting as much as you can until you die. And honestly, that sounds incredibly boring. The game looks fairly good, the graphics, well, they're modern with some cool moody lighting effects, but the trailers, they do have me scared of its optimization, considering it looks like the game is running on 20 frames per second in the trailer. And it doesn't have anything of those interesting aspects that, say, Kick Bastards have, like the parkour elements, something that makes it unique and interesting. I mean, it does have different weapons and abilities like heat vision, but how is that going to improve the core gameplay loop of just running and gunning? I am not convinced here at all, but if you're keen on giving it a run, you can do so on the 5th of January as well. Now, this one actually had me fooled at first. I thought this was a survival-esque shooter set in apocalyptic Earth. But it's really not. It's a wave-based shooter set in different maps. And to unlock a new map, you clear the previous one. Each map offering 3 different weapons and grenades. And on the Steam page, it's not really clear at all that this is what the game is. But I'm fairly confident that this is what it is. Now, honestly, I don't mind a good wave-based horde shooter, but this one seems to lack the sense of progression and the interesting aspect that I previously mentioned. I mean, unlocking new weapons via currency or upgrades would have been a perfect fit for this game, but nope, we got none of that. What we got is mindless shooting just to advance to the next level, and that gets repetitive really quick, and I'm afraid that is exactly the only thing that this game will offer. But I have to say, it looks kinda nice. The weapon feedback, graphics and enemies, they all look good and interesting, so fingers crossed there is at least some minor depth to it all. Hold up, are we looking at Call of Duty here? I don't cover Call of Duty on this channel. Well, my friends, no, not at all. Although visually it does remind me a lot of it, but it's not. This is 100 Kills Challenge. A very weird name for a very weird game. But I like this game's premise, let me explain. So the goal is to kill a set amount of enemies in the fastest time possible. And you can do this alone or with friends, which is, yeah, okay. But this is where it gets interesting. You can also do this with another team on the same map, so it turns into a PvE/PvP game, where the goal is to kill as many NPCs and or players as fast as possible, with the additional COD perk system. So killing a set amount of enemies without dying grants you airstrike and so on. I really like the sound of that, and it looks somewhat fun judging from the trailer. Now I don't think this is a game that will live on for very long, but at the same time it sounds like a buttload of fun for a weekend's gaming versus a gang of friends. Hey you there, are you not impressed by the games shown so far? If not, join the Discord, there's almost daily recommendations of new games in there, plus a very nice company awaits you in there. Maybe make some new friends, win one of the many giveaways in there, have a fun discussion, make a new thread in our forums. So stop hesitating, just hit that join, completely free of charge. What is wrong with the shooter games in January? Let me introduce Hoofobia, a multiplayer deer versus hunter PvP. And when you play as a deer, you have to use stealth and strategy to sneak around vast forests and attack the lone hunter in order to escape his proximity without becoming a wall decoration. It's a goddamn brilliant game idea, but again sounds like something that could be fun for a weekend with a friend. Not something that will live on in the history of gaming as one of the greatest multiplayer experiences out there, and that's a little sad. This feels like more a mode or a mod to an already existing game rather than a standalone full-blown game. Now this game, just as the one before it, seems to lack all form of depth to it. Nothing to strive for in the form of unlockables or anything along those lines. It does have 2 game modes at least, so that's always something. Now let me know your thoughts down in the comments about this one. A Thug's Ascension. This one actually looks to have a lot of things going for it, graphics not being one of them though. I don't know your personal preferences, but mine is not blocky playset graphics. This looks like it's been ripped straight out of my son's room full of Roblox posters. Now I'm not saying it's wrong, but it does not appeal to me. Other than that though, this is a dark, grounded, character-driven crime drama filled with first-person shooter action and drivable vehicles. I love the passion that the game seems to be rocking, especially in the story. I mean, you step into the shoes of a mercenary joining a group of outlaws trying to take down Dr. Sarkar, a billionaire industrialist that is trying to rebuild your city in his own image. Simple, kinda childish, but I really like it. The experience will take you no longer than 4 hours though, which seems to be quite cramped to fit in a 47,000 word long screenplay and action. But hey, it might just work, and we can find out if it does or not on the 16th of January. Now there's been a lot of Ready or Not talk as of late, and Contain is, well, again very similar to Ready or Not, a hardcore tactical shooter that you can play solo or with friends. Do note though, if you plan on playing this solo, there's no AI to accompany you. You will be completely solo, and that is something that actually scares me big time with this game, because there is one major difference in this game compared to Ready or Not, and that is that Contain takes the SCP formula of the supernatural and adds it right into the game. And judging from the gameplay trailers, the graphics, immersion, animations and level design all seem to be top notch. So a bit of SCP mixed in there, well, it could get pretty damn scary. Do note though that this is dropping into early access on January 16th, so expect some bugs and jank here and there, but my fingers are crossed it will deliver a fun co-op experience nonetheless. It sure looks like it could. Hey look, it's Bulletstorm but in VR, hell to the freaking yeah. I actually recently played some more VR after not testing it out for a couple of years after getting motion sick the first time I tried it. This time around though, it was definitely not as bad as the first time. I mean, they even added in the Oculus so that you can adjust the screen to fit your eyes better and just make everything a bit better and more clear. So my second experience with VR actually had me a little excited to perhaps one day get myself a VR headset. But that would be in the future. This game, however, would be a guarantee play for me if the VR day ever comes. If you haven't played the non-VR version, there is an enhanced version out that absolutely rocks, and it is one of the most underrated shooters of its time, and you should definitely play it. Alright, now this one actually looks really interesting. Essentially, you're a prisoner sent down to the mines that was once locked off to scour them for resources. The thing is that those mines were closed for a reason. The game will feature a nice progression system with upgradable weapons, a safe area, and a story that will unfold as you progress. And that actually makes it even more interesting, because at first glance I was certain that this was going to be another roguelike, in the sense of going down the caves, upgrading and getting stronger for each run until you finally reach the bottom of the caves. But nope, it actually features an ordinary campaign, which feels nice for a change. I've been playing so many roguelikes as of late, and I do love them, but at the same time I'm very glad that this is not one. The game will also feature some heavy survival elements and different mechanics to challenge you on the way. And I am also getting some crazy Metro vibes out of this, so that means I'm definitely down to testing this one out. Are you? Drop a comment and let me know. Oh, okay, that was the month of January, folks. I hope you're ready for it. Before January drops on us, make sure you don't miss these.